Welcome, fight fans, boxing connoisseurs, pundits alike, whatever you want to call yourself. We're back again, another edition of Boxing Chit. This should be number 32 right here. Of course, Josh here, along with Boz holding it down across the water there, the Atlantic to be exact.
Mm.
So, how's it going with you, buddy?
Yeah, it's rather gray and cool here. So that's why we have to turn up the heat. So that's why I'm dressed like this now. yeah,
Hey, nothing wrong with it. Every now and then, you have to show a little chest hair, you know.
yeah. I have
Yeah.
plenty to show.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, yeah, definitely good to be back on here chatting boxing again. And we welcome anyone who's going to be joining up or watching the replay. Again, it's the podcast, 86 Boxing, Boxing Haven. Be sure to check out the Boxing Haven over on Facebook. A lot of good conversations and discussions going on there. And then Boz himself does a live stream during the week. So be sure to check out Bazajanovich here on YouTube, but you'll see him linked and tagged in the podcast
Mm,
description. So yeah, another weekend of boxing. It's a little bit light as far as the major names. We did have some pretty decent fights that took place this weekend. Of course, the week prior we had a pretty big October 15th weekend where we had a lot of action that was taking place with some big names. But this week a little bit light. That being said, there were some pretty good contests that took place, and of course, we're going to have some decent names that are going to be popping up who are going to be fighting here in the foreseeable future, even starting next week. But to start with this week, I guess the biggest name of note is featherweight competitor, soon to be champion, hopefully at one point, Mauricio Lara. He was in action down in Mexico City, actually. So it would have been cool to be down there and actually check that out, having been to
mm,
Mexico City a few times. But anyway, he was there in a featherweight contest against San Martin, I think is his last name. I know I've seen him before as well. San Martin, he's a Colombian fighter
right.
who traveled down or traveled up, I guess you can say, to take on Laura. This was the zone event. It was a zone card match room. So Eddie Hearn and company were there holding it down. And this turned out to be pretty much a dominant fight and victory for Mauricio Lara, who seems to be just on top of his game and in top tier form at the moment. And right now, I would like to see him again with Josh Warrington. That's one of his familiar foes there. When I think the time is right, things seem to have set up towards that. Laura didn't take any damage in this fight, so I think he's ready to go ASAP. And it was discussed in the aftermath of the fight as well. So maybe that's what we get to see. Were
Mm.
you able to catch that knockout or stoppage? I would say.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course, Lara is a beast. Yeah, I mean, as I said just a moment ago to you, yeah, I mean, he's just so very good offensively that in the first Warrington fight, it wasn't, I think it wasn't that he was doing so well at once, but once he gets his rhythm going, yeah, he's pretty much unstoppable, and so far anyway, it has looked like
Yeah,
that. And he just took apart Warrington, and yeah, so yeah, I really like watching Mauricio Lara. Definitely. Mm. This knockout was, of course, just another proof how lethal he can be. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I'm with you there, and I think when he fought Laura or when he fought Warrington that first time, there were a number of unknowns. I don't think the expectation was high that he would
Yeah.
actually be able to take out Laura, especially
Mm.
there being overseas and in the UK, I believe is that it was the case. So he was a
Yeah.
guy who seemed to have a solid record, but fairly unknown. And Eddie Hearn even mentioned such last night in the aftermath of this broadcast. He mentioned
Yeah.
that when the Laura opportunity came about the first time around, he pretty much showed Josh Warrington a list of fighters, and Warrington kind of just picked Lara just because he said, okay, this guy looks like he's pretty decent. He's 20 something and two or whatever, and we'll give it a shot. But he didn't really know much about him, and I
Yeah,
don't know that a ton did. But it turned out to be Lara wasn't just one of those names that were easy picking. He actually is a hungry fighter who is definitely destined for a world championship, or at least that's what's on his mindset now. And the
yeah,
broadcasting itself was pretty cool
yeah,
because they showed him back home. He comes from this poor area, and he's giving back, and you can just tell that he is all in on improving his situation, his family situation, and just doing
yeah.
something big in the sport. So you got to give it to him for that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's always the underdog. I mean, until of course he really establishes himself as a big name. But I like the way he came in. Before that first Warrington fight in the ring, he was like, he greeted the audience, and he looked pretty,
Hmm.
very confident. Even I thought. So I when I saw that, I was like, maybe this guy, he can do something here. And then he wins by a knockout in the end, and I was like, wow, who's this
Hmm.
guy? This guy I really wanna watch in future. Follow. So yeah,
Yeah.
he really is a crowd pleaser.
Yeah. That's what I like about him as well. He's all action, and you get your money's worth every time you watch him fight. And as far as San Martin, who he actually fought, he was on a pretty decent streak here, or at least as far as wins. Now the level of competition is
Yeah,
probably not at the top tier, but he hadn't lost since 2018 when he lost to Emmanuel Navarrete, and we know what a fighter Emmanuel Navarrete is. So San Martin came in. He was probably confident. He probably thought he would be able to pull it off. And he was on a streak. It looks like of around 7, 8 fights or somewhere in there. But
yeah.
Mauricio Lara proved to be a bit too much. So, hey, Lara in the aftermath, he did call out Josh Warrington. He said he had two names on his
Yeah,
mind, Josh Warrington being one of them, and there was one other there at, I believe, at featherweight. I can't remember who exactly, but
yeah,
essentially, when it all came down to it, it was Josh Warrington that he wants next, and that fight was
right.
gonna. That second fight, if you recall, it was a headbutt, so we didn't get to
Yeah,
actually see anything
that's
happen.
that was such a pity, because it looked also there's if like Lara was again getting the better of Warrington, but then it ended in the fourth round, I believe, something like that, round four,
Yeah,
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 and yeah, such a shame, but that happens, you never know when that can happen, so that's really a shame with when it comes to boxing, where an injury can just end a fight, because this is not like fighting. I don't know, like some kind of gladiator where they don't care how injured
yeah.
you are, like, or yeah,
Though sometimes the fans don't care; they want to see him keep going.
yeah, that's
It's
right. And
crazy.
sometimes these fighters do keep on going despite their injuries. That's not really clever, but they don't want to lay down. They don't want to say, "Oh, he quit because of a cut,"
Yeah,
something.
yeah, you
Because
do get that.
yeah, fight fans can be really mean. I mean, sometimes I think when fighters quit, I mean, of course, you're gonna think of your own well-being, first.
Yeah,
You're not gonna say, "Oh no, I must not disappoint all these guys, these
yeah.
people in the crowd, or those watching me."
Yeah. Like yeah, if you have a broken orbital bone and you
Yeah,
keep going, yeah, it's some may they're cool with losing an eye, but I know that for others that's not quite the same. I want to see out of
yeah.
both of my eyes actually.
I mean, it should be option. I mean, it's everybody's own choice. Some people are willing to go on despite their injuries, but that's not really
Yeah,
very smart. Like, when Vitaly Klitschko retired against Chris Bird, he got so much hate.
yeah,
He got a lot of flack for that because he had like a torn rotator cuff or something.
Yeah,
I don't in the
yeah,
shoulder. Yeah,
yeah. Rotator cuff, I believe it was that was jacked up.
yeah. So I mean, it was the ninth after the ninth round. So there were three more rounds to go. Actually, it's not like it was one more round or something.
Yeah, you're right.
And people are still, oh, he quit. He was a bitch. That's not
Yeah.
so. That's not a healthy logic. I think simply.
No, I'm with you. Sometimes, yeah, some of that, yeah, it's tough to deal with that. But so I'm sure a number of the fighters have thick skin. You get hate here and
Yeah.
there. You get a lot of comments and all of that stuff, and you just have to, push through it. Essentially, at least that's the motto with these
Yeah.
fighters and all. So it is interesting.
Vitaly was just unlucky. I mean, both times he lost, it was because of an injury. Second time against Lewis, he got really badly cut. Man, that was terrible.
Oh yeah,
So you don't see
yeah.
such cuts every day, like from two or three punches, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, as you mentioned, yeah, it can be pretty unpredictable. So,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, it is one of those things, and of course,
Mm.
every fighter is different. Certain injuries affect people differently. George Cavallo had a hell of a chin, and
Yeah.
he seems to be good to go now. There were some who took less punches and damage than George Cavallo, who didn't hold up quite the same, in a lesser amount of fights.
Yeah, we talked about Riddick Bowe, I believe, last time.
Yeah,
The way he really deteriorated after the Holyfield trilogy, that was really
yeah,
unexpected. He was like 29 or something, 28,
yeah.
29 maybe. So that was really wow.
Yeah, yeah. You're right. You're right. That just shows you you just never know how things can end in this sport, and so
Yeah,
safety is an important piece of it. So, but hey, some fighters are willing to go further than others, and
yeah,
kudos to them for that, for the entertainment of the fans, and hopefully, the fans show the appreciation for such. That's what I would say.
yeah, that's
Hopefully, they
true.
do.
I know, for instance, also Danny Williams, he once fought with a broken hand. Actually, he only
Mm.
could use one hand, and he knocked the guy out with that one hand. I don't think it was a that good opponent, but still, that
Okay.
was quite a thing to do.
Yeah, 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 without a doubt. That is definitely a feat right there, an achievement in itself. So
Yeah.
pretty cool stuff. But yeah, good to go.
Mm.
That was Mauricio Lara. So this, as I was mentioning, went down in Mexico City. There were a few other fights on there that was pretty good. That were pretty good. One of them was Angel Fierro versus Jeremy Cuevas. This actually was a pretty action-packed fight, and
Right.
Fierro ended up getting the stoppage, but it was a very good fight. And Fierro, he's someone who beat Albert Machado. I think the last time
Yeah,
out,
yeah.
Alberto Machado,
I've heard of
who
him. Yeah. Mm.
yeah, he was expected to. He looked like he was going to be pretty good. He's a Puerto Rican fighter. I think he's at one. He was at 130. But yeah, he looked like he was going to be pretty darn good. And he was at
Yeah.
130 or 135, and then he took a couple of losses. And the body work did him in. He wasn't strong in the body, I would say. That's how he ended
Mm.
up losing some stuff. But yeah, overall, just a solid, decent card from what I saw. I was able to catch that here last night. It was on the Zone, as mentioned. Who, hey, I give it to him. Put on some of the fights that uh, yeah, some of these other promotions don't often get or show. So we get to see some stuff like that. So props to them for that, because I enjoy the stuff that is not just domestic, at least for us here in the U.S., but I enjoy the cars that are over in the U.K. We see these Mexico cars, all Mexican cars.
Mm.
They're in top rank. I'm guessing, well, may not have been top rank, but ESPN Plus yesterday, as far as another fight event that took place, was it was on ESPN Plus. It was Leon Bunn versus Padraig McCrory. He's an Irish
Mm.
fighter, and Leon Bunn is German. It was a card that took place in Germany. Both of them came in undefeated. and they were the main event for this particular event. And this was on ESPN, and I believe it was Salida Promotions, or I could be thinking about
Right.
that Friday. I could be thinking
Yeah.
about that previous Friday because I saw a card on Friday as well. So a lot of boxing
Mm.
was on this weekend, contrary to what it might have seemed to have been. But yeah, this fight, I was able to catch it. I caught a couple of fights on the card, but it ended up being McCrory who pulled off the W, and I think he really dominated. He had dropped Leon Bunn a few times before the stoppage actually came about. And there were points in there where he was teeing off, and it looked like the referee was going to step in, but the referee kind of lulled things in a bit. And I feel like a couple of times Bunn was bailed out there in the early part of the fight, just by the referees jumping in to say something, or whatever it may have been. But McCrory, he looked pretty good in terms of the way he was able to take him out. I know you caught the tail end of that there with that
Yeah.
stoppage.
Yeah. It
Pretty nice
was.
one.
That was a good stop. Simply, I mean, I don't know. I've never, of course, heard of McCrory, but I
Hmm.
think Bond is simply one of these protected German fighters that really, they are not gonna get anywhere far anyway in their careers. So I think Germany has really had a problem in the later years, with really growing a really good world class fighter. And
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know why, but you had like this guy, what's his name, who was knocked out by Canelo, was he?
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
Zoige, Tyrone. That's what I think his name is. Also, you have Vincent Feigenbutz. I mean, all they had both captured a world title, but held it briefly. I mean, they
Hmm.
looked like they were going somewhere, then they were brutally stopped or
Yeah.
lost. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
you're right in that sense. I'm looking at Leon Bunn, who was the A side, as a term we use in boxing, A side, B side. There's no
yeah,
question that the A side considered, or the person that was considered the A side in this fight was Leon Bunn, and he has the majority of his fights have been in Germany. He's had a few. He's had about four. It looks like that were outside of Germany, but you'd
mm,
be hard pressed to find a name that you are familiar with. As I'm
yeah.
looking through it right now, and a lot of the guys that he were fighting, some
I
had
only,
winning records, but you can just tell it was more so trying to
yeah,
give
I
you
don't,
fights or showcase fights. And he actually beat Thomas Adamek in 2018. So that is a name that stands out. But Adamek probably shouldn't have been fighting then,
but
in
that's
all
not the one,
actuality. Mhm.
that's not the one you were thinking of. There is another Thomas
Oh
Adam
yeah, you're
from,
right. You're
Czech
right.
Republic.
Yes, it's that Adamek because I just clicked on the
Yeah,
picture. So
the far
not the one
less,
of
yeah,
the.
far
Yeah, you're
far
right.
weaker fighter than the other
Very
Adam, of
much.
course. Yeah,
Very much. So yeah, I was right. There is no known name on his resume.
yeah. I
I
mean,
guess
there's one guy that I know because he fought Beterbiev, I believe. That's Enrico
Oh,
Colin. Yeah,
yep, I
Enrico.
see it right here. I just saw that. I actually saw that Coling fight, as a
I
matter of
believe
fact.
he even almost lasted the distance. He was knocked out in the last round, with 12th there.
Yep, I do remember that
Yeah,
now. So I take that back. He does have a name on his resume, someone that I'm familiar with. I
yeah.
scrolled past Coling. Yeah, I remember the Coling fight for Better
Colin,
Be
yeah.
Um,
That's that's the one.
that probably made some people think that Beterbiev had started to slip, but don't get it
Yeah.
twisted. I think he might have been coming off of a little layoff in that fight, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm,
So, but yeah, this is
probably. Probably.
yeah. So this guy was 18-0 at the time with 9 knockouts, and then McCrory came in at 14-0 with
And
nine
that's
knockouts.
light heavyweight, right?
Light heavyweight.
Oh, here
He
is.
had beat Marco Antonio Peribin. I'm familiar with him. I could be saying the name wrong. Peribin.
Mm,
Familiar with him from a name perspective. So
we
let
have
me.
a visitor. Martin is here.
Hey, how's it going, Martin? Salute. Thank you for coming by. Martin says, hope you two fellas are doing well. I didn't realize you guys were on this evening. I got a dash, so just saying hello and leaving. Sorry, have a good show now. Catch you later. Well, no problem, Martin. Appreciate you. Salute to you, Martin. We appreciate you dropping in, even if you got to go. We'll be here, man. But we appreciate you and appreciate all the comments that are always left on the videos. Keeps the engagement going. So thank you, Martin. Appreciate you dropping in, my friend.
Yeah,
So
same
yeah,
here.
yeah. So yeah, that was Leon Bunn. So we'll see what goes on for McCrory, who looked pretty good in this fight.
Hmm.
And we'll see. You know, the light heavyweight division has a number of pretty decent names there. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see him again in there with someone we're familiar with as well as an opponent. So I
Yeah, I
think.
mean, yeah, UK has a pretty good light heavyweight scene, you might say. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, with Watsy and Yard and yeah, Craig, was it Richards or yeah, Craig Richards? Yeah, so
Yeah,
and of
Greg
course you got
Richards.
Callum Smith. I hear
Oh
that
yeah.
Callum Johnson is pretty much finished as a serious fighter. That's a shame. But
Oh yeah.
anyway, yeah, he was a big puncher, but they say that's why it's a shame because he was a big puncher, pretty
Yeah, yeah.
entertaining.
He stepped up and fought Better Biev when no one was really lining up to do so.
Yeah, he dropped him
Dropped
even.
him. The only person to drop Better Biev. Put some respect on his name.
Yeah, quite a feat, no doubt.
Yes, without a doubt. But yeah, so yeah, Caleb is I guess that Caleb is done. But yeah, interesting. Yeah, I would like to see Caleb Smith in there. That could
Yeah,
potentially be someone, Caleb Smith versus
what's
McCrory.
or yeah,
So
McCrory.
or Buatsi. I saw that Buatsi is fighting. Doesn't he have a fight coming up with someone, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
Smith has been really looking good at 175, knocking out. I mean, how many fights? Two or three, but he's one of them all by like brutal knockouts.
yeah.
First, was it Lenin Castillo or somebody like that? I think his first.
Oh yeah, Lennon Castile.
Yeah.
Yeah, been
Then
around a little
was
bit.
then this French guy. What was his name? I forgot already. It doesn't matter. He
Oh
wasn't.
yeah, yeah.
He wasn't so bad either. That guy.
Nah.
Hmm.
Okay, yeah, I know what you're mentioning. So I
A
was looking up
good
Buatsi.
boxer. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Hmm?
was looking up Buatsi. His name was mentioned with John Pascal. That's what I thought was
Oh
happening, but
yeah, Jean
he turned
Pascal.
it down. It was supposedly an IBF eliminator. He turned it down with Pascal.
Right.
Excuse me, I don't
Huh.
know the stipulations behind it or whatever, but I remember
Pascal.
seeing that pop up. John Pascal still out there getting it in.
Yeah.
Hmm.
He's like, yeah. I mean, he's got longevity. You gotta give him that.
Yeah, I will say, just when you think he's done, he pops up with a title somewhere.
Yeah, he's a strong guy, also physically, obviously. So that keeps him going, I guess. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, yeah, it does. I believe it certainly does. So,
Mm.
yeah, that was a card. So that card, the Lara card and the Bun card were both Saturday. Then on Friday, there was a card as well. This was a Showtime card, as a matter of fact. Showbox, the new generation, which I've always been pretty fond of. I think they
Mm.
match up their fighters pretty well on there, and you get to see a lot of the young guns or those that you probably hadn't seen or heard of much, if any. Get to see them apply their trade right there with this spotlight on them, and it is a spotlight. See how they handle that and all that. See if they
Yeah.
look good. See if they can continue to look impressive when they're making that leap from, say, their local shows to something that is actually premium cable, and you're going to have many people watching. So in this particular one, it was a guy by the name of Isaiah Steen, and I was familiar with the name Steen. I couldn't remember if I had seen him or not, and he was taking on a Ghanaian fighter by the name of Akbeko.
Oh yeah.
I forget his first name, but
Santa, I believe, something like
Santa
that.
Akbeko. Yep,
I
you are
just
correct.
saw that. Yeah, I saw that just before this we started. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And it was a super middleweight contest for 10 rounds,
Right.
and Of course, they're matched well on Showbox. In my opinion, the story of the fight was Steen was doing a lot of his work from the outside. He definitely was using his jab, and he had a pretty decent jab. He wasn't as active with power punches and things of that nature, but he was using his jab, especially early on. He wasn't as active with power punches. And
Mm,
Akbeko, he's one of those guys who was pretty much going to come forward, try and cut the ring off, and wing in some of his power shots as well. He wasn't using the jab as much, but he was throwing punches, and there were points where he was more active than Sting, who operated behind the jab, looking to stick and move for the early
yeah,
part of the fight. Now, as he got from the middle point on, I will say that Sting started to have more success in what he was able to do with Akbeko. And there were a number of rounds there on that back end where Akbeko found himself just kind of coming forward, looking to get set to throw a punch, and therefore not really throwing anything. And so Steen was still working from behind that jab, but he was mixing in some hooks and things of that nature off of that jab that seemed to be pushing the fight more towards his favor. In
yeah.
the end, it came out. In the end, it ended up being a unanimous decision for Beko. So the judges there in the arena seem to have favored the aggression of Beko, and that is what won him a unanimous decision, not split, unanimous. So all three judges saw it in his favor. Now there you could say that Sting probably won as well if you favored the movement, him using his jab and really kind of controlling the action in that sense. So
Mm,
I think it was fought at Steen's pace, but I do say that Steen had some points of inactivity, and that is probably what played into the judges' hands as far as why they ended up going with Beko. So that's my
right.
opinion on it, and it's all how you come back from this because Steen, I'm sure, is disappointing. He thought he was going to win, and he was probably confident he had to win in the aftermath there because he didn't really get touched up a ton, but he did take some shots here and there. But
Right.
hey, judges have made some bad calls before. Whether or not this one
Yeah.
is a bad one is left up to interpretation. I do think it was a story of two fights for the two competitors, and it
Mm,
seems that the more aggressive approach won out in this scenario.
mm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think the judges now more than ever are favoring aggression because over the technical skill because with what we've seen now with Alicia Baumgartner getting a decision over
Oh yeah.
Michaela Mayer. It's obvious that her aggression won her. That
Hmm.
fight, that decision, split one, of course, and being the harder hitter and all that.
Yeah.
More exciting to watch, I guess you can say. Even though Michaela was technically superior, obviously. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you're right in that regard. I guess, and yeah, Alicia came on. She did her thing. Props to her. Shout
Yeah.
out to Rodolfo Rivera Jr. Thank you for jumping in. He says, "What's up, y'all? Hey, we appreciate you dropping in, Rodolfo. Long time no
Yeah,
see, right?
Rodolfo.
Long time no see. But no,
Yeah,
we know you're there, Rodolfo. Always showing love, all that good stuff, man. Hope all is well on your end. So yeah, we're here talking about some of the action from this past weekend. Again, for those tuning in, it's the Boxing Chit podcast. This is like episode number 32 for us. So we appreciate you stepping in. Now, the 86 Boxing podcast has been going on longer, but it's kind of just a transition. We like having these discussions. It adds a little bit more flavor to things. So we're keeping the
yeah,
movement going, baby. But yeah, appreciate you all jumping in. 86 Boxing, Boxing Haven. You see it there. Check out Boxing Haven on Facebook. But yeah, we're talking about the action from the past weekend. Rodolfo, we talked about some Lara, Mauricio Lara. I think I actually sent you a message letting you know that was going down, and Lara looked pretty good. We were just on Showbox, which was Friday of this past week, the 21st, and we talked about Isaiah Steen taking a loss to Sana Agbeko,
mm,
Ghanaian fighter. And how sometimes the judges favor the aggression over the stick and move work from the outside, even though the
Yeah.
punches may seem to be a little bit more clear. Now, I will say, just on that fight, as we were discussing, I do think the punches that Beko was able to land when he was able to land seemed to have more effect. So that could have played into it too, you know.
Becco.
Facebook user, which is my mom, I'm sure. Yep, yep. Hi, son and Boz. Happy Sunday. Keep up the good work. Hey, we appreciate you. Thank you for dropping by, checking us out. Yes, we appreciate having you here. We're going to keep it going, trying to keep that good work going, indeed. So it's
Oh
great to
yeah.
have you in.
Mhm.
So, as mentioned, we were talking about some of the different events or the cards that took place this past weekend. So, we were speaking on Showbox, the new generation. So, that was a pretty decent overall all card there. There was someone else on that Showbox card that I thought had a pretty decent showing. I'm gonna try to find out
Yeah.
here. And just in that regard, Isaiah Steen, he came in 16-0. He had been out for about a year or something of that nature. Now Sena Agbeko, he came in at 26-2. So I think this was a legitimate step up for in some sense for Steen, I would say, just looking at his record here. And hey, Agbeko, he man, it's tough, you know. You sometimes when you take that step up, you gotta, you know, you never know what you're gonna get and all that stuff. Agbeko, he has been in with the likes of Brian Vera. Now, Vera, of course, he's more of an opponent, but Brian Vera has been in with some world class fighters. He usually lost those fights, but certainly a tough fighter for sure, an experienced fighter. So I see that he had that's a name that I see on his resume that I looked familiar. I'm sure that played a big role in kind of him with his continued development and all that stuff. So hey, we'll see. I'm sure we'll see. I'd
Hmm.
imagine we'll see Agbeko again in there with someone, and I think that if you can gain his respect with your punches, which I don't know that Steen did in that fight, then you can certainly do some things with him for sure.
We don't know if he is related to Joseph Becco, do we?
Joseph Beko. I'm not sure. You know, I was thinking about that when it when the
Yeah.
fight was happening, but I couldn't. I don't know for sure. That'll
This
be
guy
interesting though.
is quite a lot bigger physically, I guess, than
Yeah,
Joseph.
yeah, yeah, very much so. Joseph was yeah, he fought at like what
Bantam.
118 or something like
Yeah.
that.
Bantamweight mostly, yeah. And
Yeah,
super base.
yeah, this guy, he looks like he probably walks around in the because that was at super middleweight. Yeah, he probably walking around at 180, 190,
Yeah,
just given his body because he was a big dude.
yeah, I remember when I was talking about that, how these guys and super middleweight, often, go at over 180 at least,
Yeah,
In
yeah,
reality, they are cruiserweights, but,
yeah,
they
yeah.
get down somehow to that weight.
No, yeah,
Well,
yeah,
well,
yeah, yeah. It's pretty crazy. Yeah, that weight cut is something
yeah.
insane.
It
Yeah,
wasn't like that before, like in the 90s. You didn't see that really, not
yeah,
usually anyway. Back
yeah,
then you had super middleweights like, Kalzagi, Eubank, and Ben. They were, I mean, none of them I think was like, they were all below 6 feet and, walking
yeah,
around at 170 something, know.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
75 maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, with this with these added excuse me weight classes, then yeah, you see some guys they'll try to get down to weight
Yeah.
class where there are bigger in, and of course
Mm.
back in the day, yeah, you'd probably be fighting at 175. If you're not going to 160, you're fighting at 175 essentially. And
Yeah,
now you have that sort of stop in the middle, so you try to work your way down to get to that point. And yeah, you do see some big guys in there for sure.
yeah. Yeah, that shows how big actually. I mean, how strong Pascal is because he did have to move up, obviously, long
Oh yeah,
ago
yeah.
from 168 to 175.
Yeah, that is
So,
true. Yeah,
Yeah,
he did move up. He did move up because he was doing his thing at 168.
yeah.
Um,
Against Froch, he fought Carl Froch at
oh yeah,
168. That
yeah,
was a
yeah.
good fight.
Called the Cobra Frotch. Yeah, yeah, that was.
Cobra.
So yeah, Pascal's been around. Rodolfo says, "Damn, my bad. Didn't see the message." 86. All good, buddy. All good. We're talking about Mauricio Lara, who put on a show last night. Showed that he's still on top of his game and he's still
Yeah,
hungry. He's still ready to go, and he wants Josh Warrington. So hopefully we get that next. Mauricio Lara versus Josh Warrington.
yeah.
So
It seems
we'll see if
like
it comes about.
that division has kind of thinned out, or is it just P126? It's not as full of names as it used to be. I think.
Yeah, we've had some guys move on up. Shakir Stevenson was there at one point, doing his thing.
Yeah.
Then he moved up, and now he's
All
gone up
right.
again. I
Yeah.
mean,
Well.
I think Navarrete is still there, right?
Yeah. Now Rete and Ray Vargas and Brandon Figueroa. Yeah, that's right. They are still.
Oh yeah, Brandon
Well.
Figueroa. Yeah, he moved up after the loss to
Yeah.
Stephen Cool Boy Steph. Can't think of his last name right now, but he moved up after that loss to
Oh
him.
yeah. I mean
Uh,
Fulton.
yeah, Fulton. Yeah, Stephen
Fulton. Yeah.
Fulton. Yeah, so yeah, so hey, I
Yeah.
think that Emmanuel Navarrete versus Brandon Figueroa would be an excellent fight. Just
Yeah.
given the
Definitely.
styles, I would like to see that. I would
That's
like to
right.
see that one
And you
because
also have. I mean, you can also have you got Lee Wood in the same division and Michael Conlan. I mean, yeah, I love to see a rematch first. I mean, not just that, I also
oh
love
yeah,
to see that rematch, and also one of them could fight. Either Lara Warrington or the winner of Lara Warrington. That would be
yeah.
cool.
Apparently, Lara was supposed to fight Lee Wood, but
All
I
right.
guess Lee Wood got injured or something, or had to
Hmm.
pull out of the fight or whatever it may have been. Uh,
All right.
so
I didn't
so
know
this
that.
was kind of a replacement right here,
Yeah.
if I'm not
You know,
mistaken.
Lee Wood is a pretty big featherweight, so I don't know how long he will stay there, but he's gonna stay there for a while anyway. Now, you know,
Yeah, yeah, he was, and he looked good in his last fight.
yeah, that
He
was
did his
fun.
thing.
Wow, some
Yeah,
fight.
yeah, that was a good one. So I wouldn't mind see a rematch with Cunlin because man, he showed some grit in that one. Yeah,
Yeah.
so Lee Wood he suffered an injury in training. It was supposed to happen back on September 24th, actually.
All right.
So this was kind of a slight postponement, and they put Laura on another card. So yeah, he
Well,
had
I
to
think
switch
that's
that up.
better for Wood because I don't think he could have won against Lara. I mean, even
It was an
against
interesting one.
Conlan, he was in big trouble early on. So
Yeah,
just
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, man. The way he was able to get up from that shot there in the
yeah,
first round, man, I got to give it to him. Got to
that
give it to
was
him.
yeah. It looked like he was out. I thought, all right, first round knockout. All right,
Yeah,
so
the same thing. I thought it was over. I thought it was over.
yeah,
I mean, that's as good a shot you can land right there.
oh
Square on the
yeah,
button, send your man down, head bounce off the canvas. I mean, I thought he was
Fulton,
completely done. So I got
yeah,
to give him props for that. He showed that grit, is what they're talking about, that heart, that
oh
thing on
yeah,
the inside right there, is what Lee Wood had. He said, you know what? This is my opportunity, and I don't give a damn what's going to happen. I'm getting up, and I'm going to continue on. And look what happened. He ended up knocking out Cunlin.
yeah. I mean, I thought Conlan was better. I mean, he was ahead.
Yeah,
I had him ahead. He was really showed himself the more clever, the more accurate fighter, all that. I
I
mean,
agree.
his punches, but it was that kind of factor that Wood had such a tremendous heart there, and also a little bit about the physique, him being stronger, kind of bigger than Conlan, and being able to take his shots, while Conlan
Hmm.
wasn't, obviously able to take his Wood's biggest shots. So in the end, anyway. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, hey, you're right. You're
Hmm.
right. I mean, hey, got to give it to him. So hopefully we get that. Maybe given that he got injured or whatever, that's something we'll get.
Right.
Conlon versus Wood again, and then
Yeah,
Laura
he's
versus Warrington, and then the two winners face each other.
yeah, and Wood actually showed himself as a really nice guy. After the fight, he was talking about that knockout because Conan looked, pretty bad, in bad shape,
Yeah, yeah.
and he was like, very concerned. He looked very, very moved by that whole thing, by the situation.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, he was out there in the ring, and it's like he was out. They were out there tending to him forever. You thought it was going to be something super serious with how long it
Yeah.
took, as far as when he was there on the outside of the ring. But
Mm.
but
That's
yeah,
interesting. That makes me think now something else. Because fighters today are less and less, what they used to be. Because before, you had all sorts of guys that were kind of reckless. They didn't that
yeah,
care that much if he really, knocked somebody out and into a coma or something. That was like, all right,
yeah,
so he's in a coma. What can I do? But now
yeah,
you
yeah,
have, that with Wood, and now this with Wilder, he was like crying also after
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah,
fight. It's more, it's I guess all this kind of awareness about, I guess also a little bit about mental health, and being more
yeah,
responsible, all that stuff. Yeah.
yeah,
So,
yeah. It's yeah, certainly certainly something that is on the forefront. Yeah, I think it gets kind of exasperated with, like, here in America we have the NFL, which is the most popular sport here, and they've had a lot of issues as far as concussions and CTE. So I think that has a trickle down effect as far as mentioned amongst other sports, especially the combat sports. And there's
mm,
more awareness around it from even the fighters and from the public. I would say the public and fans.
yeah,
There's more awareness there, and I think it's going to continue to be a thing as we move forward. And there are going to continually be sort of advancements or maybe changes to certain things to make sure that
yeah,
more attention is given towards that aspect of sports in general. So you're right in that regard. There has definitely been an
yeah.
uptick in the awareness overall.
Yeah, I think also what did it, what kind of made that happen, it was all those. There have been quite a lot of deaths, the last few years in the boxing. Sadly, there have been,
Yeah,
simply too many cases of that happening.
yeah,
And we had this also where doctors didn't do their job properly. So as I think I talked about that last time, with the guy from Scotland who died because he wasn't really
hmm
given an MR when he was supposed to
oh
by his
yeah, oh yeah,
doctor. Mike Towell, his name was, yeah.
yeah. I remember you mentioning that.
Mm,
Yeah, that's a big thing. I know we had last year this young girl. She was like 18. She was a Mexican fighter. She was fighting in Canada, and she ended up dying. She was there as an opponent for a Canadian fighter, and she ended up taking a bunch of damage, getting knocked out or whatever, and she ended
mm,
up dying from the injuries. I forget her name, but I had posted something on Instagram, I believe, and this was one of those situations where they didn't really know anything about her previous conditions as far as I think there probably was a
yeah.
medical check, probably something standard like a physical or whatever, and
Mm,
therefore you just never know what people are dealing with or what their true background is, and you see that with the. So one of the things I just know as an amateur official, just being around the sport and how things are done, they with the younger fighters there, they have to have an approved physical, and it has to be signed off by a doctor, their medical care doctor, or in some cases the doctor there at the facility, depending on the timing, because they're usually weighing in the mornings. They'll go through the process themselves. But one thing that doctor always says or mentions here, shout out to Dr. Davidson, who is at a lot of the stuff here in this area, is that you don't know these fighters' medical background, their history, or whatever. And I think that same thing applies, of course, to the pros. Now, in the
mm,
amateurs, as an official, we're taught to give an 8 count if it seems that someone is in danger or they take a big shot. But here, the pros, the point or the objective is to get your opponent out of there. So yeah, that can be deadly, of course, in itself,
Yeah,
especially with those who may have conditions that aren't necessarily right there on the forefront or visible or
yeah.
that people are aware of.
There's too much sloppy work. Also done. As you said, some just get a basic check. And you can't do that. I mean, especially with fighters who have been in the game for a while as pros. It's a little bit different when but still, even if you are new, to the game, you can still have some kind of illness that is not being detected. So that's why everybody should get like a really CT scan, the full thing, and not
Yeah,
just, but unfortunately, also I would say certain promoters think too much about their own pay. I
yeah,
mean, yeah, their own wallet, and they're like, oh, I don't want this card canceled because that guy failed his check, his medical whatever. I don't want, that's how it works. Unfortunately, I think too often.
yeah. You're right, and yeah, it is interesting. It is a challenge. It's going to take cooperation from all parties if it's going to be handled at an appropriate level overall. It's going to take certainly that cooperation from all parties, and it's always interesting in boxing
Mm,
because it is very much a sport that doesn't have that same regulation, unified regulation, I guess you can say, as some of the other major sports in the world, and
yeah,
that makes it tough and interesting right there as well. But
mm, it's
we'll see.
yeah. Definitely. I mean, it's the one sport that probably needs that the most, because of the nature of it all, the blows to the head and all that.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, and it's the boxing is very much incestuous in nature, which I guess can be said about a lot of sports. But I've certainly seen it firsthand, being involved with it here on the amateur side. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's one of those things.
I mean, it doesn't help when you got fighters like Brandon Rios that go, I love this. After he was beaten up, he goes, I love this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But not everybody is like him, of course. I'm glad there are such fighters also, that can take the punishment. They just, shrug, or how they
Yeah,
say, they don't shrug from it. They just take it with a laugh, But
yeah,
that's a special breed.
yeah, without a doubt. It we'll see how. I guess it's more so about the future as opposed to the present, though the present has played, but we'll see down the road if there's any effects, which I guess you can say there probably is in some capacity,
Mm, yeah.
probably in some capacities, you know.
Mm.
Interesting stuff though, but yeah, I'm sure we could go on and on with that right there, and boxing and its
That's
regulations and all that stuff.
yeah, that's food for thought, of course,
Food
always.
for thought. Food for
Yeah.
thought, without a doubt. I was gonna mention as far as another fight this weekend. There was a young man by the name of he's 11-0. Floyd Schofield. He beat Daniel Rosas. This was on that Thursday. The Zone had a
Oh,
card on Thursday, and
that sounds familiar. That last name. I don't know if that's the same guy. I'm
yep, it was a
picking it
first
up.
round stoppage. But Schofield looked pretty good. I hadn't seen him, or at least I didn't recall having seen him,
All
and
right.
he looked pretty good. It was short, it's a one rounder, but I just thought it
Mm.
was worth mentioning. And I actually also watched a card that was on Thompson Boxing, which I know they have a YouTube channel. They have a website, Thompson Boxing. I think they're out in the West Coast, and a lot of fighters have come up under their system. I heard the likes of Timothy Bradley, maybe Andre Ward, etc. This is out on the West Coast. They had a card. Doug Fisher of the Ring Magazine is usually commentating. Sometimes Steve Kim is commentating. Maybe Beto Duran or whatever. And it was a pretty interesting
Wow.
one. It was on
Yeah.
YouTube. I can't
Sounds
remember
like
all the fighters or anything of that nature, but I did check a good bit of it out. because it came on right as the Showtime Showbox card. It was finishing up on, I believe, Friday, so I caught some
Mm.
of it. And yeah, there was a guy last name Brewer, a young fighter by the last name of Brewer, who was out on the
Wow.
West Coast or somewhere, who got a
Your
win. He looked pretty
cousin.
good. Yeah, I need to reach out to him. Like, hey, buddy,
Yeah.
what's going on? I saw you. I saw your family. So yeah,
Yeah.
we'll see though. I'm gonna look into it, but he looked pretty good. Use some body work to take this guy out. Hey, gotta love it. Starting out the right way.
Yeah.
And he ended up being the main event. It was supposed to be someone else, but the opponent that he was fighting had to pull out. And
Mm.
then that guy, he was there. He was going to be the headliner, and he
Right.
proposed to his girlfriend on the actual live thing right there. Brought her in the
No.
ring and all that stuff. I need to find out. I wish I had the names. I'm gonna have to look that junk up. But
Kind of
it was
like
pretty cool.
when Nigel Benn, I think he did the same thing when he lost
Yeah.
his title against that guy Sugar Boy Malina. Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had heard about the bid when Shakur Stevenson did it recently
All
in one of
right.
his fights. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah.
it's becoming such a such a cliche, worn out cliche to propose on big arrangements, like concerts
Yeah.
and stuff, games,
Yeah. Yeah.
football. I mean,
Will
sports.
you marry me?
Yeah.
It is
What
funny.
if you get a no? That's like you've been embarrassed in front of the whole world almost.
Yeah, that would be. Yeah, hopefully, nobody gets that no like that. That would be embarrassing.
Yeah, I'm
I imagine
sorry,
it'd be
I
all over
cannot.
TV.
And he
Yeah,
is like standing there. Oh no, what
but
happened?
oh, what's that? Funny
All
stuff
right,
though.
now I really, yeah, now I really did it. I laid a matzo ball, as they say in
Yeah,
Seinfeld.
yeah.
Mm,
So make sure you're ready, fellas, and she's ready. Make
mm,
sure there goes some tips, some advice right
yeah,
there.
never
Propose when the
assume.
time's right.
You know what they say in actually in Croatia? It's actually that comes from that saying. The assuming is the mother of all screw ups.
Oh
So
yeah, hey, that has some validity there. I will say
yeah,
it does seem to have some validity.
that's right.
Cool. Hey, so that was it as far as the fights this weekend. As mentioned, a fairly light
Hmm.
weekend as far as the names and all that stuff. But coming up on this weekend, particularly
Yeah,
Saturday, October 29th, we have some familiar names. One of them being Vasily Lomachenko making his return to the ring after a good period, and we know what's been going on over in Ukraine. So Lomachenko, he was there. He was serving in the military in some capacity there
yeah,
for a while, and they got granted the opportunity to continue forward with their boxing career. So salute to those in service over there who are fighting and all of that stuff, having served myself. Commend them for such. They do it so the others can be able to do their thing. So
yeah.
Usyk, Lomachenko, etc., they can be able to fight, and their
Hmm.
counterparts are going to hold it down back over there in the country. But he's going to be taking on Jermaine Ortiz in a 12-round
Yeah,
lightweight
Jermaine.
contest.
Hmm.
And Jermaine Ortiz, of course, for those who may not be familiar with him, in his last fight, he essentially retired Jamel Herring. And I'll say that because
Yeah.
Jamel Herring retired after the fight. It was a pretty dominant win for Jermaine Ortiz. Not one of those where it's just like he blew him out and it was just like no contest. It was just dominant in the sense of Jamel Herring. He was kind of in there, but he really didn't offer up much to Ortiz. And Ortiz was able to pull off that victory. So he was rewarded. Whether that's a good or a bad thing in terms of we'll see in the aftermath, he was rewarded with the fight against Vasily Lomachenko. Now, at least I guess it's going to be good because Lomachenko
Yeah.
is a name amongst the hardcore fans. But he'll get the opportunity to try to upset the apple cart. So if he's able to defeat Lomachenko, then kudos to him. He's going to instantly become a name that a lot in the sport of boxing are going to be looking towards.
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts on that right there, Boz?
Yeah, now Lomachenko has not been fighting for some time since last year, I believe, right? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it's been a while.
yeah. So
Let me look
if
it up.
even if he loses, I mean, even if Ortiz wins, everybody's gonna say, "Oh, Lomachenko was, now, yeah, he's just past his prime," and but I think still, he's gonna be. It's pretty hard for him to lose his, abilities. Because they are very natural. Those that speed and those reflexes that Lomachenko has. They can, of course, be like somewhat weaker over time. They get weaker, yeah. But I don't think he's gotten that much. I don't think
Yeah,
he's changed that much. But and being in a situation like that, like he was until now in Ukraine, it only makes you stay sharper. It makes you stay on your feet. On your toes. I mean, so
yeah,
I think he's probably gonna win this fight. But as I said, he's probably gonna have to really like impress in this fight
yeah,
um, to be given like I don't think that he'll have to really win like with 10 rounds or something to get be given a decision. But still, if he doesn't really win, really impressively, then everybody will be going, "Oh no, he's finished," and then
yeah.
who knows what can happen, yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
still,
a
yeah,
lot could be on the mind considering your country's at war. So you
yeah,
never know how a person will react to it, but it could be motivation, it could be a
yeah,
downslide. It was seemingly motivation for Alexander Usyk because he went out and was able to pull off the W again against Anthony Joshua.
gosh,
Now, if we go with just conventional history, then Lomachenko he might come out here with a vengeance and with vengeance and really put it on Jermaine Ortiz, who can box,
yeah,
who seems pretty solid. But yeah, on paper, of course,
hmm,
Vasily Lomachenko is a level above. Now, I was looking at the schedule or the record, and yeah, so Lomachenko last fought in December when he took out Richard Comey in dominating fashion. I
yeah,
will say he looked on top of his game. So just under a year. It's been about 10 months since he fought. Now, of course, a lot has changed over those 10 months. He wasn't at his. Yeah, it's definitely a different landscape back home for him now compared to December. So you never know how that's going to affect things. Heck, even the lightweight
yeah,
division in itself has changed a good deal just over those 10 months. We have uh, Ryan Garcia, he's no longer in the division. Teofimo Lopez, no longer in the division. Devin Haney looks like he's barely still going to be hanging on in the division. We'll see. So that seems like maybe the most logical matchup for him, were he to pull off this W. Outside of that, a lot of the
yeah. I
big names
mean,
have gone outside of the arrival of Shakur Stevenson.
it seems like right now they intend to make the fight between Loma and Haney.
Yeah,
It seems like that is the intention, and if depending on who wins that, of course, then maybe a Shakur or Tank Davis. I don't know. Maybe he's still going
yeah,
back and forth. I think,
yeah. I
but
thought
he
about
can.
Tank.
Yeah,
Yeah, at the end. Yeah, depending on where he's going to be fighting.
yeah, but I think he can make 135. He's
Yeah,
not a big
yeah, yeah. True.
135 guy. Yeah, so yeah, I think it's gonna be very exciting to see that fight. Hope it gets done because, of course, if Loma should, God forbid, lose this fight now against Ortiz, you never know, of course, what can happen. Maybe
Yeah,
his mentality isn't quite there anymore. That can be the case, But I think he will because he has something to prove. I mean, still, and he will be fighting for his country, of course. That's a major, how do you say it? Yeah, it's a major
yeah.
boost, simply psychologically. Yeah.
No,
So
yeah. I agree. I agree. That
yeah,
can definitely play into it and add
mm,
favor as far as kind of that
yeah,
motivation. and him like getting this opportunity. He may not that he didn't. Of course, he appreciated boxing. You don't get to the level that he's at without it. But maybe this even makes
Mm,
him even a bit more hungrier. To like, okay, you see how things can change here in a split second. I'm about to take advantage of whatever time I have left here in my career. Because what is he
yeah.
like 34 now or something? Yeah,
Yeah.
34,
Mm,
34. So he's like, hey, I'm gonna give it everything I got for these how many ever years I got left, and because
yeah.
realistically, he hasn't he doesn't have a so he has a total of 18 fights, but he also had like 400 amateur fights or something, or
Mm,
damn near 400 amateur
yeah.
fights. So he doesn't just have the wear and tear of the pro game, but he has wear and tear of such a long amateur, two-time gold medalist, and yeah, he was like 396 and one, which is insane.
Yeah.
And now here as a pro, he immediately stepped in with top competition. As we were watching last week, I
Yeah.
believe him against Salido. That was his second fight. I couldn't even remember
Yeah.
that it was his second fight, which is
That
actually pretty
was
crazy.
such a mistake, by Bob Arum to how to say it, match him up against. Yeah, that's. I mean, a really experienced guy who likes to fight dirty, fight on the inside, and that's exactly what Loma, you might say, at least in the past, has struggled with. But also, he was a bit heavier. Well, yeah, all right. Salido was heavier, but it wasn't like a massive, advantage. I would say it was just that he went to the body a lot, and threw some low blows, as we know. But simply just had the right strategy to beat Loma. He didn't try to box with him, of course, or anything.
Yeah,
Just stayed on top of him, I say, the entire time.
yeah. Yeah, you're right in that regards. So it makes things interesting. What's funny is Cambosos beat Teofimo Lopez,
Yeah,
and Teofimo Lopez beat Lomachenko,
that's
but
very
you can't even imagine Cambosos beating Vasily Lomachenko without a
no
doubt.
way.
You know what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah, I
just
mean,
crazy
no
how
way.
some of those string theories don't work because styles make fights, as they say.
Yeah, exactly. And I think simply what happened when Lomachenko lost Lopez fight was a combination of things. Him not being really in the best shape, maybe, or that shoulder injury what he had.
Yeah,
And, he was just facing a guy who was very determined and hungry, and he wasn't as determined and hungry anymore.
he fought a
And
very cautious fight early on. I would say
yeah,
Lomachenko in that fight.
yeah, it was pretty much against Salido. You might say he was pretty
Oh
cautious
yeah,
in
yeah,
large
yeah. That is
parts of the
true.
fight. Kept walking around,
Hmm.
waiting to do. It was like he was thinking, "What should I do now? What I'm gonna do?"
Yeah. It was a similar situation to that. So yeah,
Yes,
interesting stuff. So we'll see if he's able to bounce back here and put on a show. I guess you can say against
yeah.
Ortiz because
Well,
in all likelihood he typically does put on a pretty good show whenever
yeah.
you're watching Loma out there boxing.
He'll probably not score a knockout or anything, a stoppage. Probably not, but he will, I think,
Yeah.
just do enough to win, be the better man most of the fight, and yeah, probably. I don't know if it's a 10 or 12 round fight. Is it?
Yeah, I think it's 12. I believe it's
Yeah,
12. Yep, it's 12. Now, yeah, and Ortiz, of course, he's coming in undefeated. So yeah, it is not
yeah,
that he's gonna just sit there and let Lomachenko walk through him. I think he's
yeah.
gonna put
He'll
up a
be.
put up a fight for sure.
That's a good. He'll be looking to make a statement. I mean, to be noticed, and that's a good thing to when you're fighting Lomachenko. I mean, he's a good opponent to do that against. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know enough by off Ortiz to really judge his chances, but yeah, I mean, as I said, it depends on what shape Lomachenko is in now that he comes in. Maybe if he's not at his best shape, then maybe we can see another upset. Maybe who knows? But
Yeah, potentially. Potentially the
yeah,
case. Yeah, Ortiz, he had been in there and he had a draw with Joseph Ardano, who's one of those top ranked prospects, I guess you can say, or maybe
yeah.
middling prospect that could be a little bit past. But his two biggest fights, of course, are coming back to back because he just beat Jamel Herring and now he's
Mm.
headlining against Lomachenko. So that's a jump for him. So I'm sure he's gonna bring his best to continue to see the fruits of the labor that has gone in on his end as well. So it should be interesting without a doubt.
Yeah, when I think about Lomachenko, hasn't fought that many, technical fighters, I would say, or clever fighters. So, he fought Gary Russell Jr., I guess you can call him. Well, even
Oh
he
yeah,
is
yeah.
more like an offensive, like fast fighter or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. And that's been a
Uh,
minute going way back. It seems like it's going far back now, right? It's just like
yeah,
it's pretty crazy
he.
thinking about it.
I think the Rigondao is probably the most technical fighter he beat, and yeah,
And he out technicaled
yeah,
Rigondeaux, so that fight didn't turn out how we thought it would.
yeah. He was just too much of everything, too fast, too good, yeah,
hmm Yeah, got to give him props for that because many people thought Rigo was about to come in there and watch him in some sense,
and I
but
think
nope.
not. I don't think Slomachenko Loma gets enough credit for because nobody they all say oh he's so fast and all, but he actually can also hit pretty well. So he has proven
hmm
that. I mean,
Oh yeah, he can.
especially yeah. I mean, he stopped Linares with that body shot, for
Oh
instance.
yeah, yeah, that was a good stoppage as well. It was a good
Yeah,
stoppage, and
I don't know if
Linares was still
Linares,
pretty solid.
yeah, even though he's been stopped before, but not that many times, no.
Mm-mm.
So
No,
yeah,
no, you're right. That was a good stoppage win right there because Linares he was still on his game, and so
yeah,
that was a good one to pull off. So yeah, well, yeah, it's I think hey, if we get the offensive showcase Loma, then yeah, he really does his thing, and he
hmm,
like you said, he doesn't have that one punch knockout power, but the way he puts his combinations together, I mean, it's
yeah,
just beautiful to see. So, and that's
hmm,
what allowed him to get some knockouts as well. So hopefully, we get some semblance of that in a game Ortiz to make it a great fight. You know.
yeah, exactly.
Now,
Hopefully,
also on that card, Robeisy Ramirez is going to be taking on
oh yeah,
Jose Romero. Jose Romero.
yeah, no,
Matthias Romero. Where
rebels.
did I know him from? Okay, he lost to Isaac Cruz and
Just a
Miguel
second,
Rivera.
I'm gonna have to turn down this.
Oh yeah, yeah, no problem. But yeah, so Miguel Rivera, aka Young Ali, looks like a little young version of Ali. I think he's Dominican or something like that.
All
So yeah,
right.
Robeisy Ramirez, he's looked very good since his first pro loss when he debuted, when he was probably still pretty much on that Cuban amateur boxing way of thinking at that particular time. But since then, he's looked very, very good. And he beat
Hmm.
Abraham Nova in his last fight, knocked out Abraham Nova in the fifth round. And I thought it was
Here,
very, very impressive.
I know
Yeah, I
it's
hear you.
late, but I had to put. I thought it would be good to put on my headphones now.
Oh yeah, yeah, no doubt about it. But yeah, yeah, I was speaking on Robeisy Ramirez. He's looked good as of late, and that Abraham Nova win was a very good one. And the way he did it or went about it,
Hmm.
yeah, he's very promising young fighter. So he's gonna be, I guess, he may be the co-main event, Robeisy versus Jose Romero, and Romero has only lost to he only lost to Mikael Rivera, who is the young Ali Dominican guy. He
All right.
has like Ali on his stuff and all that. And then Isaac Cruz. And of course, we know Isaac Cruz has gotten a lot of buzz as of late with him fighting Tank Davis, etc., etc. So it should be a
Hmm.
good one right there. So I think Robeisy Ramirez should, yeah, I'm excited to see him because I think he does look pretty promising, especially at
Yeah.
this stage.
Hmm. And when you have said Young Ali, there have been a lot of those kind of fire names like Young,
Oh
Young
yeah,
Joe Gans, young Jack Johnson, young Joe
yeah,
Louis. But
yeah, yeah. It is.
I don't think I've seen anybody called young Muhammad Ali or something. I think that was
No,
like
no. Yeah, I don't
blasphemy.
recall. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I don't recall seeing it. I wouldn't be
yeah,
surprised if there's something out there. I had to look that up one day, but like, come on now, come on. But
yeah.
this he's a fan of Ali though. Michael Rivera kind of looks like him a little bit.
You know,
But
in
yeah, there's
I
only
know in
one Muhammad Ali.
yeah, of course. You know, in Africa they have really such far out fighting names. You know,
Oh
they
yeah.
had like Proud Kilimanjaro and that stuff. There
Uh,
was a guy called that.
oh yeah, them in Thailand, they have the Thai fighters have some very interesting
Yeah,
names at
yeah, and then
times.
the
Some
Filipino
of them
also.
cool. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Same as there. That is pretty funny. We've
Tiger
seen.
Ari and that stuff. Yeah, Tiger.
Yeah, I think we were talking about recently knockout CP Fresh Smart.
Yeah,
That's one right there. This is knockout.
Foxon 3K battery.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, yeah, the one fighter was his name Casal Galaxy or something like that. What is it? Galaxy
Oh
or something
yeah,
Galaxy? He fought back in the
Kaosai. Yeah, he was really good. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
Kaosai Galaxy.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It's interesting.
but yeah, CP Freshman is really funny. Knockout CP.
Yeah,
Yo,
yeah, he is. He's pretty
or,
solid. He's pretty solid from what I see.
yeah, or
Um,
Samson Dutch boy Jim.
oh yeah, I don't know
Dutch.
him.
He was like before he doesn't fight now. It was pretty
Yeah.
long ago he fought. I think one of them was it him that actually retired unbeaten. I don't know, but yeah, that
Mm,
doesn't matter. There was one guy with such a name.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's a interesting one for sure.
Mhm.
Um, so also on this card, of course, is a top ranked card. They have a lot of prospects over there. Shout out to Duke Reagan. He's going to be taking on Luis LeBron. LeBron, not LeBron James, but LeBron. But they had a LeBron versus LeBron fight. Both of them were from
I
Puerto
don't
Rico
think
at one point.
anybody would want to face LeBron in the ring,
Yeah. So,
except maybe Fury or Wilder, those guys.
oh yeah, they'd be more in that size range for sure.
Yeah.
But so yeah, Duke Reagan, shout out to him. Troy Isley, who's out of DC, out of Alexandria Gym. The Transformer Troy Isley, shout out to Troy Isley. So he's gonna be fighting on this card as well. Then you're gonna have Richard Torres Jr. who's gonna be making his return. Hopefully, it's gonna be against an opponent who has a pulse in some sense. Um, but yeah, I had an incoming call, but I can't
Isley,
answer
like
it.
the Isley brothers, that old band.
Yeah. So yeah, so shout out in that regard. Adula Mason is going to be fighting as well, who looks to be a pretty solid up and coming prospect, as well as
Abdullah Mason.
Abdullah Mason. Worth
Oh,
checking out. He looks
Abdul.
like he's pretty
Right.
yeah, Abdullah Mason. Yeah, he's the American fighter here. And then of
Right.
course they're going to be pumping up Nico Ali Walsh, who is the, I guess, nephew of, or he's the son of one of Ali's daughters. Is
Oh.
Nico Ali Wash. They've been pumping him up. He hasn't really fought any legitimate competition as of yet, but
Hmm.
um, he's working. He's working. He's putting in some work from what it seems. So we'll see how he looks as he continues to develop. But they're
Yeah.
bringing him up slow though. It's
I
definitely a
also
slow roll.
also heard that there's another son of Tommy Morrison called Kenzie that he's fighting now. He's
Oh yeah,
supposed
yeah,
to
there
be,
is.
yeah,
I
kind of
haven't
good.
seen him, but he apparently beat. He's the one who beat the Hassan Rothman Jr.
Oh yeah, all right. Hmm.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one. I need to check. Well,
Kenzie, yeah,
I did look up the knockout or the stoppage or whatever it was, but I need to see that to kind of see how it looks. I don't think I've seen Kinsey. Of course, I saw Trey Lippy Morrison, and of course
yeah,
he had the name, but from what I saw from him, yeah, he wasn't super good. But
yeah. It's
of
just
course, he built up a record, you
yeah.
know.
He can punch, but he's just fought nobody's. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, so
Uh,
he got stopped in I think this Kinsey kid is a little bit better than Trey.
Hmm.
So that's
Yeah, hopefully.
for what it's worth. For what it's worth, at least that seems to be
Hmm.
the case. So yeah, but that's that card. Then yeah, I don't know if it's taboo to bring it up, but we're also gonna have Jake Paul versus Anthony or Anderson Silva. so
Oh no.
uh
Oh no.
so that fight is gonna be taking place on the
That's
29th.
gonna. Yeah, that's. Oof. I don't know
But
why. Yeah, I don't know why that fight's happening. Why Anderson Silva? I mean, wants that fight. I know that
yeah,
he wanted, back in like 2010 or something, he wanted to fight Roy Jones. They were like
yeah, I remember
serious
a lot of
talk.
discussions surrounding
Yeah,
that. They should have made that happen, as a matter of fact,
yeah, a
especially
shame.
considering how it ended for Roy. It would
Yeah,
have been good to go ahead
would
and
have
get it
been.
out of the way then.
Yeah, I mean, Silva would have had a realistic chance with that version of Roy, I think. Yeah,
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I actually was seeing. I was watching. I came across some video on YouTube of Roy Jones all knockout losses, and I watched it, and man, he should have stopped after Glenn Johnson.
yeah, that was.
Realistically, that was
Yeah.
a bad one right there. You could just tell it was different. You could understand
Mm,
with the Tarver one because the way Tarver caught him, it was just a flush
yeah,
coming with that left. I think it was left hook.
yeah, that was early in the fight, and I guess
Yeah,
Johnson was in the ninth round. He had taken a beating already, so that's
yeah,
why.
and then yeah, the punch that Johnson knocked him out with, it seemed just like a little straight right or something
Yeah,
like that.
someone maybe overhand right. I don't
And
know.
then seeing some of those other knockouts that he was getting, it was just like, man, you're gonna take some brain damage because some of them he was,
Yeah, of
yeah, he
course.
just was. His
Against
resistance was completely gone.
yeah, who was
Enzo
that?
Macronelli knocked him out.
Yeah, Enzo and Dennis Lebedev and
Then there's Lebedev, and then
that
that
guy
fight,
Danny Green. I think
yeah,
one
Danny
round.
Green, yeah, that was a
Yeah.
first rounder. Yeah, I remember that one, man. So yeah, Roy, man,
When
he was
Danny
going in.
when Danny Green knocks you out one round, you know you better retire right now. I mean, if you are like
yeah,
Roy.
yeah, he kept going for a few years after that, but he's done now, of course. So yeah, that is of course not the Roy that we remember at the
Yeah.
top of his game.
Yeah, I mean, I would have at least retired after he lost to Tara the second time. I would have
Oh yeah,
retired after that. That was a pretty entertaining fight. Yeah,
yeah, I think people would have understood as well because yeah, it's
yeah,
just
he
one of those
was
things.
like
All good
37
things
or
come to an
something.
end.
Yeah, exactly. He was like 37 almost at the time of the fight, and
Yeah, I remember when he fought Tito Trinidad, who had come out of retirement,
yeah, that
and
was. I watched that fight recently. I didn't watch it before, but
it
yeah.
wasn't a good fight, right?
No, no, I mean, Tito was actually better at first, I thought, but then
Oh, okay.
Jones kind of put him down. I think three times. Was it?
Yeah.
But that
Was it
was.
at what weight was it at? Do you recall?
I think it was like a catchweight, 170 or something. I
Oh,
think.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
Tito wasn't good at the higher weights for
No,
sure.
no, no. He hadn't
Didn't
fought
work out
for a
for him.
while. Also,
Yeah, that is true. So that was
two
kind of
and
a
a
little,
half years or something. Yeah.
yeah, a little money grab fight there that they worked up. But it was I guess it's cool to see the names in
Tito.
there together. But yeah, we'll see.
Felix Tito. Yeah, he was like,
Tito.
I think some may have overrated him simply because as we saw the fight with Oscar, he was really not in that fight a lot. He was simply outclassed for most of
Yeah,
that
he
fight.
was. He was. He could punch, but he couldn't really land
Y-
much there against
Yeah,
Oscar.
yeah, he's not a boxer. Never was really.
Yeah, yeah, that is true. That was the way it looked against Winky Wright as well. It's
Yeah,
like he didn't know what to do with Winky.
that
Winky
was.
is in there.
Yeah, he was so tricky. Nobody wanted to fight
Yeah.
him after a while.
Oh yeah, well, Winky Wright. Shout out to Winky Dang, right?
Winky.
But yeah. But then
he's from he's from Washington, right? DC. I
Oh
believe.
yeah. I
Yeah.
know he had spent time in this area. I think he's down in St. Petersburg, Florida,
Oh
where
yeah,
his
right.
last where he's at. But yeah, he used to be up here. I know.
Mm,
No Winky. So yeah. Um, but yeah. Another card I want to mention that is coming up on this next weekend is the return of Katie Taylor, who
the
is going to be
return.
fighting.
All right.
She's gonna be fighting Carbajal. What's her name? Something Carbajal. Karen Elizabeth
Hmm.
Carbajal. This is gonna be at Wembley. So Katie's headlining it. It's a zone card, of course, the zone matchroom card, matchroom boxing. So Carbajal's coming in 19-0. Of course, Katie is 21-0. From a competition perspective, I haven't actually looked at Carbajal's resume, but I highly doubt it has been at the level of a Katie Taylor. So
Hmm.
this should be interesting. I plan on checking it out, and we'll see how it goes for each of them. Then you're also going to have Kiko Martinez fighting as
Oh yeah.
well.
Kiko.
Kiko, who's seen a resurgence here as of late, was able to pick up a world title and all that stuff, but he's taking on Jordan Gill. Now, I've seen
Oh
Jordan
yeah.
Gill a number of times. I think he's fairly decent.
Yeah.
He
He's
should be able to beat Kiko Martinez, I would think, with his reach
yeah.
and everything.
Did you watch his last fight? I think it was when he came from behind. I think he scored a ninth round knockout. That was really good.
I believe I did see it,
Mm.
but I had to look back to see if I remember it.
That was because he was taking quite a lot, as far as I remember, quite a lot of punishment for that, and that was like a really beautiful turnaround. I
Oh
thought.
yeah, against Kareem
Yeah,
Giffrey or
yeah, that guy. He
Giffrey.
was kind of
Giffrey.
even fighting a little dirty. I believe that guy
Yeah, I
Kareem.
think I do recall seeing that
Mm,
fight right there.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I've seen him. Yeah, I've seen Jordan
I
Gill
mean
a
it
few
was.
times.
Yeah, I mean it wasn't like Gil wasn't doing well before, but he did take some, punishment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think he's solid. Certainly,
Mm,
certainly one of those. I guess you can say Commonwealth level. Like he can certainly
yeah.
be a Commonwealth level champion. I guess you can say, but yeah, we'll see. I mean, Kiko Martinez, this will be his first sort of world class test, and even though Kiko's a little bit up there in the age, but that
Yeah.
being said, Kiko is pretty crafty and tricky, so
he's
he's
been
found a way to stick around.
yeah. He's been around forever, it seems. It's like I
Yeah,
don't know when
so
he turned pro 2003, 4, something like that.
yeah, representing
Yeah.
Spain. Yeah, Kiko's been out there
Mm.
for a good hot minute, without a doubt. We're the same age. He's 36 years old. Yeah,
So
so
he
Gil is
started,
coming in at 28.
yeah, probably started before he was 20, maybe, as a pro
Yeah,
then.
he probably started somewhere
Yeah.
in the late 2000s.
Yeah, or I think
Let me
he
see.
was 2007. He was actually the European champion. I think
Mm.
I remember, or
So
was
yeah,
it?
he could have
Yeah,
potentially started
so
earlier.
he knocked out Bernard Dunn in one round. I remember
Yeah,
that.
2004. So that means he probably started right after high school or right around it
Yeah,
because that's the year I graduated. We're the same age, and so given such, then yeah, he would have been 18 or around there when
yeah,
he turned pro.
that's
Yeah,
right.
so 17 or 18, but I imagine probably 18 or somewhere around there. So yeah, he's been around for a minute. 2004, he turned pro.
18 years.
He's about to hit dang 20 years here soon.
Yeah, yeah. Some guys just can keep it up that long, and yeah.
So I haven't watched his Warrington fight. I need to see that. And I was watching, but I wasn't paying attention to when he was fighting Galahad. So I didn't.
Boring.
Then I ended up cutting it off before it finished, and I didn't
Mm.
expect that Kiko was going to win that fight. But hey,
Mhm.
he pulled it off. So
Yeah.
so yeah, he's legit. He's legit. He's a crafty guy. Been
Hmm.
around.
I thought after those losses to Frampton, I thought, no, he's finished, pretty
Yeah.
much. And that was a while ago. So, yeah, pretty amazing how well he just came back from those losses. He was even stopped by Scott Quigg in 2 rounds, I think. So that was
Oh
wow.
yeah, Scott freaking Quigg. It's like Quig just fell off the face of Earth for all of a sudden, right?
Yeah. That's right.
But yeah, old Kiko, man, he's been around, so he's gonna be faking on Jordan Gill, so that should be an interesting one. And like I said, I favor Gill for his youth and activity. But that being said,
Mm.
well, this will be a good test for him. See if he's ready for an even higher level of competition.
Yeah, I believe he's of Irish descent. So I know that last name is like something from Ireland. So he's got
Mhm.
that fighting Irish blood.
The Fighting Irish, yeah.
Yeah, the Irish.
So that aside, let me see here. So that's that UK card. Those are the two, or the kind of the major fights that are on that KD Taylor card. Of course, there'll be some other ones there, but also the same weekend, it's a lot packed into this coming weekend. We're gonna have freaking JoJo Diaz making his return against
Jojo.
William Zepeda.
Yeah, another Zapata.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I favor JoJo Diaz. I like Diaz, and this is going to be at a
Yeah,
lightweight, so he's at 135 now. And I think that's probably where he fought Haney at when he lost to Haney in his last time out.
yeah,
And I thought that JoJo he had some moments in there, but I definitely think Haney won. But JoJo did have some moments. Maybe the game
yeah.
plan would be a little bit different this time around. I saw him on a podcast with Christine in the ring with Christine. Shout out to her. But he was on there. They did an interview with him, and he was mentioning, yeah, if he
Mm,
had a do over, he would have picked up the activity against Devin Haney, which I think would have
definitely.
helped him a bit more. But yeah, Devin definitely won that fight and looked pretty good doing so, and
I
has
think.
been since in the aftermath. So
Mm,
yeah, it was an
I
interesting
think
one.
I did catch some of the highlights at least from the fight. So yeah, I remember that Diaz had some good attacks, but yeah, he did lose convincingly in the end.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He did, and yeah, and you can kind of see that his output, couldn't keep up with Hades in that particular instant. So he
Yeah.
makes his return. William Zepeda, and I couldn't remember if I've seen Zepeda or not. Maybe, but they're gonna be fighting, and
Mm,
then
William.
William Zepeda. So yeah, those are gonna be the main fights on there. Then there's also a card on. Looks like this is out of Russia. It's in a Russian card. Someone with the last name Papin. I don't know if I've seen him.
Russia.
So yeah, they have a card going on in Russia. Uh,
Russia,
so
nice.
so this
There's a say.
there's a
Yeah,
cruiserweight. They have a cruiserweight over there. His name is Papin.
they do. All
Uh,
right.
he's 13-1.
Hmm.
Let me see. So he's the one who's going to be headlining. His name is Alexei Papin. Let me look him up to
Popping.
see
Oh yeah, yeah. I think
who he is. Be.
I'll come across him probably. I believe that guy Kuzmin. He was also cruiserweight, but also heavyweight. I think he kept like going. Sergey Kuzmin.
Oh yeah, I remember Kuzman. Yeah, I thought he was going to be a bit better, but
Yeah,
yeah,
and
he took some L's.
Ruslan Pfeiffer also is a cruiserweight or was anyway.
Ruslan Pfeiffer. Don't
Mm,
recall him. So Papin, or whatever his name is, he's
yeah.
14-1. So he's 14-1, and he lost to Makabu, who Canelo
Yeah.
wants to fight. So maybe
Yeah.
Canelo versus Papin
Yeah, maybe.
if he wants
I
to make
don't
that
think
cruiserweight debut.
I don't think he wants after that loss to Buell. He knows that
Yeah,
it's better not to go, at least not above 175.
yeah,
Even at
yeah,
135, it's gotten pretty strong that division now. It
yeah.
was kind of weak like 10 years or something ago, or not 10, but
Hmm.
5 years ago, something like
Yeah, probably 5 years because they had a little strong point when they had like Marco Huck, Dennis
that. Yeah,
Lebedev that was fighting up there. Thomas Adamic was somewhere in there, in or
Adamic,
around there,
yeah.
right? And
Yeah, it's a pity he left that division too early. Adamic, I thought, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He
He beat Steve Cunningham and then two other guys that were not so good. I mean, Jonathan Banks, I think, yeah.
okay, yeah.
And another guy, Bobby Gunn.
Bobby
So
Gunn. Yeah, I
yeah,
remember that. Okay.
that's the man. Yeah, I think he should have fought Cunningham again because I know that fight was close, but he scored like three knockdowns out of it. That's why he won, mostly because of that. I think. Yeah,
Yeah,
man,
yeah.
it was very close. Yeah,
This is Adamek you're referring to?
yeah, Adamic. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
when
Yeah.
Cunningham was probably at his best, he was at his peak back then. You know, so
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I never liked Adamek at heavyweight. I just thought
no, 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 no.
that was a bridge too far for him because
Yeah.
he started at did he start at like light heavyweight or maybe 168 or something like that?
Oh yeah, yeah, he did.
Because I think he started lower than cruiserweight, if I'm not
He was
mistaken.
actually he had the WBC title there, but then he lost to Chad Dawson in
Okay.
2007. Then he went to cruiserweight
Yeah,
after.
yeah, that is right. So yeah, in heavyweight, I thought was a very much a long shot for him. And
Yeah, too small. Which if it
yeah,
had been like 20 years ago, then maybe he
yeah,
would.
yeah,
But he was just too small for 21st century heavyweights. I mean,
yeah. I'd agree. I'd agree.
didn't have the power, enough power either.
Yeah,
So,
especially when you factor that in, you want to come with something. Yeah, I think he was going to be at a disadvantage in most cases. Maybe he
yeah.
could move a little bit better than some of the lumbering guys, but definitely if you're at that
Mm,
elite level in the heavyweight division, regardless of whether it's a strong point or not. I mean, yeah, he wasn't
yeah.
big enough and didn't have enough power,
Yeah, I mean,
and he couldn't move
remember,
like that.
yeah, when he fought Vitaly Klitschko, he was like everything he
Such a
landed.
disadvantage right there. He should have. It's like
Yeah,
crazy. It was like a
yeah.
mismatch.
He didn't land much, but the few punches he did land, it like you could see no effect at all. And Vitaly has got that tremendous chin also for a heavyweight.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So,
mean, yeah, he was able to take Lennox Lewis's punches, so
yeah,
that
exactly.
tells you. So Adamek, yeah, stood no chance. That was
Mm,
definitely a mismatch. Now, of course, Adamek fought his way there somehow and got ranked
yeah,
to the point where he could have that matchup. But
yeah, he
certainly,
beat Ariola. A few of those guys that were like
oh yeah,
B,
Chris
B,
Ariola.
yeah, B minus something, and it's because he
hmm
was better technically than them and faster and all that. So
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
Ariola at the time, yeah, routinely didn't come in top shape.
yeah, yeah, Mister Taco Burrito man.
So he was just kind of fighting his offensive fight, but definitely was as far as that
you
work he
know,
put in the gym, that was to be questioned, I guess you
yeah,
could say.
I remember he said once actually that he said I'm a heavyweight thanks to the tacos and burritos, because
Yeah.
otherwise he would have been probably a light heavyweight or cruiserweight.
Yeah, because I think he fought in the amateurs at cruiserweight or something like that, maybe light
Yeah,
heavyweight, one of the two.
yeah. I mean, he's not small, but I mean, he's not short or anything. But still, he's not.
No,
Never was a really, a muscular guy or anything at all.
no, no, certainly not.
Yeah,
So yeah, it made it interesting for him certainly, but I guess he achieved. He was able to get to a world title shot at least,
yeah,
and
yeah.
props to him for that. I guess you can say.
Again, he was dismantled by Vitali, the great.
Yeah, yeah, not close at all, right?
Yeah, that
Oh,
was.
Vitaly, yeah, he's tough to deal with, even at length, and he knew how to use it for sure.
Yeah,
Certainly did. So yeah, those are the main things. And I guess lastly, we can speak on the great Harry Wills. Just wanted to kind of
yeah,
close with that, folks. For those that are still here or still listening, of course, it's the podcast Boxing Chit. Now, I brought up Harry Wills because a little bit later here today, I think it's going to be around 6:30 this time. I'm going to be hopping on the live with Random Acoustic Thoughts, and we're going to
oh
be
yes,
discussing Harry Wills. And Harry Wills is one of the great underrated heavyweights from the early years, and this is dating back to the early 1910s. He turned pro in 1911, fought to
oh,
1932, though a little bit sporadic there at
yes.
the end. But he was like one of the best heavyweights in the world, arguably the best
Mm,
heavyweight in the world at one period, and it coincided exactly with the reign of Jack Dempsey. But that fight did not get to it never materialized, so we never got to see it. So that being said, wanted to bring up the great Harry Wills. He's one of those guys that often goes unmentioned. He could be
Mm,
considered, a top 10 heavyweight when you look at the annals of history. He could definitely be considered in such because he had a span, like a 5 year period there, where I think it would have been pretty tough for anyone to have defeated him. And he had a mix of pretty solid size. He's about 6'2",
mm,
over 200 pounds. He probably was more in that 210 to 215 range, peaking. But he had wide shoulders, broad chest, wide shoulders, long arms, so he knew how to fight from the outside as well as on the inside, and he used that inside uppercut, and it helped him take out some guys, even some guys bigger than him. And I
mm,
think it would have been a massive, massive task for Jack Dempsey had they fought at that particular time. And it was an on and off situation over the years where they were going to fight, but it never actually happened. And it's unfortunate because we missed out on the potential for one of the greatest heavyweight matchups in the history of the sport.
yeah,
And so, yeah, we're going to be having that on Random Acoustic Thoughts channel
mm,
here a little bit later today. And additionally, I had mentioned doing this so it's random because right now I'm working on a video, switching things up here as far as how some of the 86 boxing videos go. I'm working on a video that's kind of chronicling the career of Harry Wills. It's taken me a while to get the script together. Finally got it together, and working on the editing now. And I think it should be a good one, one of the better ones in terms of just trying to increase that quality. So I had mentioned and brought up a question, a poll question in regards to the content moving forward. So I've been doing those deep fake photo animation videos, and I think that I'm gonna scale back on that, maybe drop those all together and change that to a format where it fits more of the mold of the animated videos that I create, like how good was X Fighter, for instance, like how good was Harry Wills? That is likely going to be the one coming up, and then how good was some of the other fighters. So I think I'm going to move more towards that format to add a little bit more into it, a little bit more emphasis, a little more creativity. So I won't be posting as often as far as daily content because right now I had been on a pace of having something out there daily, but I rather focus that time on just working on these animated videos and just kind of drop them as they come. And the stories will be
mm,
deeper, the research will be deeper, and the overall videos will be of better quality as well. So just want to throw that
mm.
out there. But Harry Wills, he's a great heavyweight that I wanted to mention. You have any thoughts on Harry Wills there,
Well,
boss?
I was looking through his record, and he's really beaten Sam Langford many times. That was really
Yes.
well. He fought like 10 times or something at least.
Yeah, it's insane. I think
Yeah,
it's mentioned they fought somewhere around 12 times or something of that nature. Now, early on in the first few fights, Langford was able to beat him. He was younger at the time,
yeah,
but by the
early on.
time by the
Yeah,
time he hit 23 or whatever, then the game changed, and
yeah. Langford
and
couldn't beat him anymore.
yeah, he couldn't beat him any longer, and yeah, he was a handful to deal with, and he took out
Yeah,
a lot of the other top guys there. He beat Luis Angel Fierpo, who ended up fighting Jack
yeah.
Dempsey. He beat Fred Fulton, who was this big heavyweight at the
Oh, yeah.
time, a big
Big.
punching heavyweight, who Jack Dempsey beat as well. But he,
Mm,
he beat him, both of them, him and Dempsey knocked out Fulton. But all of this was seemingly going to lead to a title shot at some point, but it never happened. Now some say that he Dempsey ducked the opportunity. Hey, I guess that's left up for interpretation for sure. It
yeah.
sure seems like they just didn't want to make that fight, and I'll chronicle in the video as well. Doc Kearns, who was Dempsey's manager, yeah, he seemed to not be truly fond of making the fight, even though a lot of the media and such were clamoring for it. He would he would leave comments or whatever, or in reports say that he didn't think it was a big fight or whatever, and blah 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 blah. But yeah, you'll be able to see what I kind of touched on as I go through the process there in this particular video. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be a good one on the great Harry Wills. And shout out to
Mm,
Rodolfo who says I'm a Miss Sadi, but it sounds good. 86, no doubt. Rodolfo, hey, he'll be. I'll probably mix some of that music in there as well. So it's not
yeah,
gone for good.
yeah, that's nice. Music, yeah. Eric Satie, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so yeah, just picture it, Rodolfo, taking the format that would have been the deep fake animations, and for all those fighters, at least those moving forward, it'll be a bit more detailed now, and there'll be animation effects and all of that stuff in there. So that's something I did want to share, and I
Yeah,
think it's gonna be better for the channel.
great. You do great work, yeah, with that, really. It
Oh,
is pretty important that, yeah, some of the younger fans know, about these fighters, and yeah, they get their due.
well, yeah, without a doubt,
Mm,
without a doubt, a lot of great fighters out there in the history of the sport.
yep.
Yeah, so many to chronicle. We come so
Yes.
far, still so far to go.
So many we don't know much about, but they have been through some exciting fights and stuff.
Oh
Yeah.
yes, without a doubt.
Mm.
And Rodolfo Rivera Jr. Yep, can't wait. 86. Salute, Rodolfo. Definitely. Of course, we appreciate you coming by and checking everything out. As always. But yeah, I think you're gonna enjoy it. I think this Will's
Mm.
video will be a pretty good one. And it's gonna be one of the longer ones I've created.
Very
So,
nice.
but
Mm.
hey, I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be worthwhile for sure. But cool. We're at 140 there,
Yep.
boss.
A
Nearly hit the
good,
2 hour mark. Who'd have
a,
thought?
yeah, good movies linked.
Yeah, good movies, Lynch, without a doubt. So yeah, I mean, it was great having the discussion. Of course,
Yeah,
those that are listening now, we
likewise.
appreciate it. We
Mm.
appreciate those that are in here now celebrating with us and talking to boxing, and those that watch or listen to the replay. You are appreciated as well. Um,
Mm.
hey, we do this. We do this for the people, baby, as they say.
Yep. All
But yeah,
power to the people.
power to the people. So yeah, so salute to everyone out there. Be sure to hit up Boxing Haven, hit up Boz Janovic. You already know the deal. It'll be in the
Yeah.
tag. It'll be tagged in the post, and I'm looking forward to it. YouTube is coming out with YouTube handles, so for moving forward, we'll be able to communicate with individuals by using the @ symbol, just like at whatever your handle name is. Once it's rolled out with everyone, so we'll be chatting. We'll be chatting
Mm.
without a doubt. Take this thing
Yep.
to the next level. All right. So yeah, that's all I had. Any closing thoughts there, Boz?
No, really, as I said, we'll be looking forward to watch the next week because it will be a better one than this. With Lomachenko, coming back. Yeah, really looking forward to that.
Cool.
Mm.
Cool. Well then, we'll catch you all on the flip side there, and be sure
Mm.
to come in, comment, and share your thoughts. Until then, have a good one, everyone.